Gamblers, last Sunday night, I found myself driving over to Jolly St. Vic's house in West Peoria to watch the 49ers-Lions game. It was the second quarter, and I knew our 49ers were in trouble, but all I could think was, Jolly, I'm coming for ya. I had the secret sauce guaranteed to bring the 49ers back. What was it, you ask? Good JuJu merch! I walked into that house with my Good JuJu hat on, and our secret formula of Good JuJu baked into every item purchased started its magic. It wasn't immediate. The Lions completed a 3rd and 15 and kept driving. But then it happened. The JuJu started brewing. They were held to a field goal. Throughout halftime, my Good JuJu apparel transformed that house from a drab, ironically jolly dwelling into a space of warm, vibrant, good vibes. The second half was never in doubt. With the Good JuJu flowing from West Peoria, our 49ers stormed back and dominated the game, sealing our entertainment for the next 2 weeks and keeping the legend of Good JuJu strong within all of us. If you want these same outcomes for your team and aren't a Chiefs fan, then head over to goodjujubets.net and click on the merch shop. We can be found on Etsy and nowhere else on the internet.
We can't lose. No, we can't lose.
Enjoy it while it lasts. Gambling gods, fickle bunch.
Oh, yeah.
So easily
We
affected.
have a shooter and a good one coming out for a new point. Get your bets down, ladies and gentlemen. He's a rolling point is 9, place 9. 9 a winner. Got a hot hand. Place your bets, ladies and gentlemen.
They bet on absolutely anything. Don't make them prove it.
Super Bowl party I used to go to every year when I lived in California. Guy would always bring McDonald's cheeseburgers and then cut them into fourths, and that would be the appetizers. And surprisingly, it slaps.
You're tuned in to Gambling with Good JuJu.
Welcome in, everybody, to Gambling with Good JuJu. Go, mother, JuJu, 49ers. Real quick, if you haven't already, please give a subscribe, follow, whatever that button is on your favorite podcast platform that lets them know you appreciate our content. Also, give us a follow on your favorite social media platform at Good JuJu Bets, where RJ does a great job of creating quality content, and I occasionally pop up to make us look square. As in dorky, not bad betters. Maybe that too. I don't know. Let's go.
Let's go.
Later on in the show, we'll have a very special guest, Grant Neiffer, a.k.a. Turd Ferguson, contributor at scoresandodds.com, gambler, and DFS legend. But before we live, laugh, and love with Grant, we have business to attend to. The 49ers are going to the Super Bowl, and I have never seen my friend more jolly. Kurt, kick us off. No, not with your feelings about the game, about the acknowledgement you said you would give out on mic.
Yeah, so, I mean, you did a great job describing exactly what happened when you strolled in with your Good JuJu merch Sunday evening. RJ and I were, well, it wasn't really RJ, but I was sulking and miserable, and I had no prayer or hope that the Niners were going to win that game. I was already talking to RJ. I was like, wow, we really got to watch the Lions in the Super Bowl, like the Lions. But then you came in, and all of a sudden, the roses outside started blooming.
In the middle of winter.
In the middle of winter. You could hear the butterfly wings flapping in the calm breeze.
Was I glowing?
You were like a ray of sunshine. And the Niners just went ahead and just dropped 27 unanswered.
Was a thing of beauty.
Was a thing of beauty.
The first thing I said when I walked in that door was, I'm here to reverse our fortunes.
Yeah, and you did.
Mission accomplished.
And I'm giving you 1,000% of the credit. None to the 49ers. You played a terrible game. You are lucky Peter walked through that door, or else you would be sitting at home right now.
Right.
And I would be yelling at you from 3,000 miles away.
Bang, bang, Niner gang. You're welcome.
Yeah, so.
Real quick,
Yeah,
in addition to me, you have one more thank you to give.
Oh, the hat.
To the hat.
It's actually,
the hat.
We don't know if it was me or the hat.
Well, yeah, it was a mixture of the two of you.
Yeah,
Right.
it's my
Right,
I
because
do embody. I embody.
Yeah, the Good JuJu hat came with you, and then you took the Good JuJu hat off at points during the game, and you were waving it in the air and all that good jazz. So, yeah, it was the both of you. You did great.
Well, thank you.
Thank you so much. Now, you have to wear the hat for the Super Bowl.
I will.
Okay,
I
thank you.
promise. Okay.
Okay, do you guys know who Kristen JuJu is?
I'm assuming this is Kristen Jusek, the
Jusic?
something to do with the fullback that we were worshiping today.
Use check.
Juszczyk. All right, let me start over. Do you guys know who Kristen Juszczyk is?
Is
Yeah, I
she
do.
related to?
Yeah, she's my fullback's hot wife.
Oh,
Right. So
okay.
the algorithm was cooking, right? We talked about him for 30 minutes. So immediately the next day, Instagram's like, hey, why don't you check out Kristen Juszczyk? Am I getting closer?
Yeah.
Use check.
Use check.
Juszczyk. I'm sorry, I keep putting all the Z's and C's and Y's in there. Juszczyk. All right.
Is that because Dan Tomlin went like, I'm betting 3 touchdowns?
No, it was because we talked about him for about 40 minutes about how he's a gadget player and every team should have one while we're watching the game, which
Oh,
you probably
yeah,
don't remember.
You don't remember that.
14 Truly's in.
We
you
talked about,
serious?
we talked about how amazing Kyle Juszczyk is, and then we compared him to Taysom Hill, and then we were like, why doesn't every football team have a player just like this? On
And then
the
you
roster?
turned around and yelled at us and say, he's a fullback.
Yeah, I don't remember that.
Okay, so it's like, hey, well, this is topical, and thank you for listening to our conversation and feeding me the content I obviously want. And it's like, she's a good-looking girl, and general curiosity, she had this huge thing of scissors, and she's wearing a jersey of his, right?
Mm-hmm.
And what does she do? I'm watching this because I'm engaged. She cuts it all up into pieces and makes a jacket out of it. Kind of neat, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
very
then
cool.
I go and I look at her thing, and it's like, oh, she buys all of these old 49ers clothes and makes clothes out of them and wears them to the game. It's pretty cool. And then what do I see?
Is she selling them?
She's the one that made Taylor Swift the Travis Kelce jacket.
Yes.
Oh,
She did.
Oh, Chiefs.
I agree.
Well, did she
I
ask for
agree.
it back?
Small world.
Is Taylor Swift gonna wear Kyle Juszczyk's wife's jacket to the Super Bowl?
She wore it 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
So probably not. She probably threw it in the garbage.
But I mean, if you're making clothes like that and Taylor Swift calls you, you gotta entertain it.
I do not blame her.
I'm not a LeBron fan, but if LeBron called me and said, "Hey, dude, can you make me a jacket?"
Can I
I
get a
would be
JuJu
like,
hat?
"Yeah, can I get a JuJu hat?" I would be like, "Yeah."
Yes, you can.
But
Yes,
they
you
weren't
can.
working on this week. She did this.
No,
week.
yeah, this was a couple weeks
Small
ago.
world. Small world.
All right.
Yeah,
All right, Kurt.
yo.
How does it feel knowing you're going to be on cloud 9 for at least the next week and a half?
I mean, where do I even begin with this? I mean, I've already seen the Niners lose 2 Super Bowls. I'm prepared to watch them to lose a third one. I'm excited, but I really don't have my hopes up. It has been awesome. It's awesome, obviously, to be here. And I want to get revenge on the Chiefs and Mahomes because I don't like them at all. But on a fun note, and I'm so happy we get to talk about this because it's right up my alley. But my dad, Monday morning, started sending me conspiracy videos about the Super Bowl art because he's a 49ers fan too. So we're both Niners fans.
Right.
But he's already sending me Monday morning after the Niners game, right? Where I'm still recovering from a hangover, but I'm watching film and I'm watching what everyone else has to say. He's like, we're going to lose. It's rigged because Taylor Swift is a CIA asset. And Travis Kelce is a big pharma asset, and it's all to bring in the globalist agenda. So he's sending me these videos.
Is he serious?
He couldn't be more serious than a heart attack.
So this is where you get this from.
No. This
Genetic.
no. This
I
is
did not know conspiracy theorists were genetic traits.
no. Listen, I love a good conspiracy theory.
I know.
But this is far out, man. This
I
is
love it.
this is way out there. So
I love that you're like, no. I'm a conspiracy theorist, but my line's here,
Yeah.
and this dude's line is up here.
Yeah,
I like normal ones.
But
Yeah.
I've heard you talk
Right.
in the past, Kurt, and you've definitely said some things where your line sounds out here at this point.
well, yeah, there's different heights of a tinfoil hat. I think we can all agree with that.
All right.
I mean, hold on. Juice believes putting his phone in a microwave because
course.
they pick up on what you're going to say.
Oh, well, they do. That's true.
Okay,
We just proved
okay.
that.
That's
All right.
not a conspiracy theory.
Okay.
They're
All
listening.
right. All right.
All right.
All right, wait,
So-
no, hold on. Before you go on here, so he says to you, here are some videos saying that Taylor Swift is a CIA agent and that
Yes.
Travis Kelce's working for Big Pharma.
Yeah.
And he is being serious to you. This is a real thing that's really happening. What is the evidence?
So the evidence is he sends me it's like a forum that the CIA had. They were pitching something, and some lady is doing a presentation, and she says just how the CIA uses celebrities to influence public opinion, which is common sense. But to rig the Super Bowl with Taylor Swift is just insane.
Why does the FBI want the Super Bowl rigged?
That's a great question, Pete.
He doesn't have.
Oh, well, I think the answer is, of course, because Taylor Swift is a big, Biden supporter, that if the Chiefs win the Super Bowl and Kelsey and they can do commercials and whatever, who knows? I don't know. Why don't you ask him?
Can we get him on the show next week?
Yeah. Oh, he'll tell you all about it. It'll be great. Yeah.
I do love that it was like two big conspiracies all week were, the logo colors.
Yeah.
And then it was that the NFL is paying Taylor Swift to be a fan so that girls like football.
I mean, I would believe that more than she's a CIA agent asset to rig the Super Bowl for the presidency. Pete's sitting here with his mouth open like, what?
No, I'm just sitting here going, what a heady play by the NFL.
Right.
If they
They're
are
genius.
doing that with the Swifties.
That would
be
Taylor Swift to be a fan. Yeah.
Unbelievable. Like, hey, yeah, you're going to date Travis Kelsey. We're going to get him in the Super Bowl. We're going to make a bunch of tweens super happy.
Yeah.
No way. I'm not doing that.
So
I'm unthinking that.
I'm not. Yes.
Yeah.
That is exact. I don't want that thought in my brain.
Yeah.
Because
you'll go down the rabbit hole.
I know enough marketing people who would be like, well, I mean, that's pretty good.
Sounds like a good idea.
That's a pretty good idea.
How much do you think it would cost?
I don't believe that even at that point they would then care who won the Super Bowl, though.
Nope.
So even if the NFL paid Taylor Swift to be a fan so that her fans would be bigger fans of the NFL, they still wouldn't rig the Super Bowl for her team because of it.
I think you're right.
Agreed.
What a fun, ridiculous segment.
Well, I mean, and then to top it off, I talked to my mom right after my dad sending me CIA asset videos, and she's like, yeah, Travis Kelsey's my boyfriend. I'm going for the Chiefs.
There you go.
And I'm like, thanks, Mom.
Okay, the NFL totally paid Taylor Swift then. Now I'm convinced. Now I'm 100% convinced.
I'm like, I thought Aaron Rodgers was your boyfriend. Well, I don't like him anymore.
Yeah.
I like Travis Kelsey. I'm like, good God. You're supposed to be my mother
Oh, Chiefs.
and supportive. My best friends are going for the Niners,
Right.
but my mother isn't. She's going for her boyfriend.
Yikes.
I literally am putting it in the terms that you must cheer for the 49ers if you are coming to my garage this year.
So Mom's not invited.
No, sorry, Mom, can't come.
Enjoy your Pinot Grigio on your couch.
But they put on the tickets with ownership has the right to revoke access to anybody at any time for any reason.
Yeah.
Bingo.
Bingo, bango.
I'm getting security at the door.
Love it.
All right, Kurt, what are the 49ers' strengths and weaknesses in this game?
Oh my gosh. Well, they're a much better offense than they were in 2019 with Purdy over Garoppolo. I think we've seen that. They've obviously got a good run game with CMC. They can throw the ball to Ayuk, Kittle, Debo. Their offense is their biggest strength. Their defense has taken a step back. It's been absolutely atrocious this last 6 weeks, and that's going to be a problem because you're going up against the greatest quarterback of all time.
Is there a reason for that? Is there someone they're missing? Is there something going on there?
So what they did was, their last two defensive coordinators, Robert Saleh, got hired as he took the Niners defense to number 1 in the league and then to the Super Bowl to play the Chiefs the first time in 2019. He gets hired as the Jets coach. They then promote D'Amico Ryans to defensive coordinator.
Yeah.
And as we know, he did so good, he gets a head coaching job with the Texans. So they didn't have anybody to replace those two guys on staff because those were just like their two guys, right?
Right.
They're gone. They had to go hire outside the organization.
New scheme.
So they hired Steve Wilkes, except here's what they did. When they hired Steve Wilkes after he didn't get the Carolina job, they told him, like, look, if you come here to be our defensive coordinator, you have to learn our defense. We don't learn your defense. We've already got the players for this scheme. So you have to come here, learn our defense, and call our defense.
Yeah.
And that's been not as successful this year because he's his first year calling the defense he's never called before.
Yeah.
So he really doesn't have any idea of what he's really supposed to be doing, and it showed this year.
But isn't that supposed to be something where the defense gets better as the year goes along, as they all get comfortable and adjusted? It sounds to me like they were pretty strong early in the year, weren't they?
Yeah, I mean they were. So that's kind of hit or miss, right? So they were strong at the beginning of the year because their offense was blowing people out.
Okay.
So they were putting up 40 points on people, and teams are just having to throw and get away from their game plan.
Makes it easier.
So it was easier for the defense to just rush the quarterback, play the pass, and that really limits teams. But once they started losing those games, when they had the 3-game losing streak, their defense just kind of like slipped, and it hasn't been as good since. Saw
it in the Packers game. Saw it in the Lions game.
Yeah. And so I'm really worried. Like our future guest will say he's leaning Niners, and like I'm honestly worried that this could be a blowout.
Yeah.
There's no way you can see this clearly.
You may be right.
There's no way you can see this clearly.
You may be right.
You're so clouded by fan paranoia right now.
Yeah.
Every time we talk about the 49ers, it's not going well. And here they are in the Super Bowl.
It's either that or it's the exact opposite.
Like I put that future ticket and you're like, yeah, good luck, dude. I don't think so. Maybe next year. It's like, okay.
I did say that, didn't I?
It's like April.
While also saying on this very show how horrible the entire NFC is.
Right. Anywho.
Yeah. I mean,
so it's the defense that you're worried about heading into the game against Mahomes. It's the offense you think is going to be, this is going to create a fun game.
I hope
if you've got defensive, except for the Kansas City defense.
Defense is really good. Their defense is really good.
I mean, they got so many weapons. Like, come on.
Yeah. They're going to score. It's Mahomes, man. Mahomes.
He's an equalizer for sure.
He is the ultimate equalizer.
Yeah, you're never safe.
And so Mahomes is just a great example, right, of like why if you're a Bears fan, you just got to try to get that guy, right?
Yeah.
Because you look at what Mahomes has. I mean, obviously he got Kelsey, but Rice is a 3rd-round pick this year.
Mm-hmm.
And then they have Sky Moore, who was a 2nd-round pick that doesn't even play, who's a total bust. McCole Hardman, who doesn't even play, he's a total bust. They took him in the 2nd or 3rd round last year. They got Valdez-Scantling, who can't catch at all.
A retread at best.
Who's a retread that Green Bay discarded.
Yeah.
Tony.
Yeah, Kadarius Toney,
right,
who's basically hasn't been seen in 6 weeks. And here Mahomes is in the Super Bowl throwing to one guy, 2 guys essentially, and a bunch of guys who shouldn't be in the league.
And Pacheco, who's
a 7th-round pick.
Not really an elite running back.
Right.
Yeah.
And so it just goes to show you get that quarterback. You don't need Brandon Ayuk, Deebo Samuel, and George Kittle.
I understand why you're keeping your expectations in check. That is smart.
Yeah.
So what is your prediction for the game?
I believe I wrote it down here when I was thinking about it, that my prediction with hope, what I hope happens, is that Jake Moody kicks a 48-yard field goal with less than 30 seconds left, and we all get to scream Moody one last time for the season in the garage as loud as we can.
Moody!
Do I think that's how it's going to play out in a 24-23 Niners win as Moody kicks the game-winning field goal? I don't think so.
Well, I'm particularly excited because I have the Super Bowl ticket, and I said on this show my new hedge strategy for big games is to juice down the other side or to juice reduce the other side by picking player prop overs that would be fun to watch at low totals and parlaying them with the hedge. Well, now I can take the Chiefs at like 3.5, parlay them.
Plus 3.5?
Plus 3.5.
Yeah.
Parlay them with all those fun player props, use my promos, use my free bets on that.
Yeah.
And then during the game, I have a healthy little middle. Yeah. So a 1 point 49ers win would set me up for a potentially extremely profitable night.
So we've got these Niners futures, right? Are we able to tease the Chiefs +8 and the over
Sure.
40?
I'll let you do that. Yeah.
They'll let us do that? I kind of like that strategy.
Yeah. Why not?
We're always looking for more minus EV bets. If you want to bet
For the
into
Super Bowl?
Thanks for bringing one up.
If you want to parlay the 2 Super Bowl main lines together in a teaser,
Well, what else would you do?
well, I know that they don't
Am I
recommend teasing totals for one.
Am I the only one with the Chiefs ticket, really?
No, I have Chiefs tickets.
Okay. Yeah. So we're good.
I actually am mad at myself because I didn't place any other tickets than the 49ers and the Chiefs when they went to 9-7 or whatever it was. At one point, their odds jumped up, and I thought I should get the Chiefs right now.
Yeah.
And I didn't.
I've got a couple Chiefs plus 1,300 at $25.
Yeah.
Free bets. So I'm like 900 for Niners to win, 600 if Chiefs win.
Ah, yes.
And then I got player props. So
Yeah.
Player props. Yeah. Well, we're talking about betting on sports finally.
yeah.
Interesting concept I heard on the Should Have Bet More podcast with Will Hill. He said, just fire away at every single star now and bet the over and then run them all back Sunday, Super Bowl Sunday on the under.
Oh, because they're
all going one
up.
way. Yeah. So if you want to get your juice reducers in, maybe do it sooner rather than later.
Well, we need those promos to start showing up on the books.
Ah, yes, the promotions.
That's one of the things I'm waiting for. I did start laying down my free bet action
Good.
already.
Now, has this theory been tested?
Absolutely not.
Okay.
No, but if our buddy Will Hill's saying it.
Yeah, and it's
Literally.
like, you know, I don't know. Do you really try to catch prop bet middles? I don't know.
Yeah, that's tough.
It's tough, right? It's
Yeah.
not like, you know, landing on 3. It's like you got to get a guy's yards within 15 yards or something. Yeah, I don't know. But, fun idea.
I like it. I like that it's on board with kind of the strategy I'm already doing. So, all right. Now, we aren't just excited that this is Kurt's team in the big game and we all stand to make some money off them, but the Super Bowl is a big deal to our social calendars overall every year. We invite a large group of people over. There's kids, Super Bowl themed shenanigans, too much food. Overall, pretty reasonable vibe. But I've watched 49ers games with Kurt, and there's no way his tone will match the typical vibe of a Super Bowl party. So I've agreed to let him be him during the game, which has some implications and requires some pre-planning. So let's go through some of the decisions that we had to make. First of all, you've agreed to replace any property that might break, and I have actually agreed to those conditions, meaning I accept that that might happen.
Did I
property?
say that Sunday?
I think he only said a TV.
No, I
If
think
you
that
break
that's
any
fair.
other
Yeah.
property, you better replace that too.
Yeah,
Are you
I
saying
think
he
that's
doesn't have to
fair.
replace other property?
Well, I'm just saying, I don't know if he burns your car down.
Oh, that ain't gonna
You
happen.
can't touch old blue. Can't have the rain.
I'm
Blue.
not
The
going
Wrangler.
to.
All right.
Yeah. Okay. We're only going to do 1 to 2 party games this year.
My God, are we going to do any?
I was debating that in my head. I'm not going to be monitoring them during the game this year, though. So done with the whiteboard, party games. Maybe we'll make copies. I got a scanner. We'll just copy them and boom, give them back to them. Good luck.
What about squares?
Squares. Yeah, have you made your
You
board?
said you were going to do
Oh,
it.
we can do squares?
Of course.
Yes.
Okay, cool.
I just don't want to have to do anything.
Okay.
Right. That's total lo-fi. Like you just
Yeah.
you make people buy them and that's it.
Yeah.
The
okay.
other requirement I alluded to, everyone at our party must cheer for the 49ers.
Smart.
That is good.
We don't need any drama this year. We don't
No,
need anyone trying to troll Kurt during the party.
that's true.
We need everyone just kind of in his corner supporting him. So the other thing we're going to need to decide, what happens if the 49ers win and Kurt is still coherent? We're going to have to do something with him.
I can't wait to find out.
Yeah.
So keep that in the back of your mind. So several things here that we're kind of really already honing in on. Do you have any thoughts on this, Kurt? What's your strategy here?
My strategy is to eat a lot of food,
Smart.
kind of maintain my water intake
Smart.
with my booze intake.
Yeah, this is good.
That way I can enjoy it if they win, right? And then keep going for the rest of the night.
Yeah.
And then, if they lose, I could just go home and cry like a little girl.
Smart.
I think that plays out
I
perfectly.
think we'll do our best to help you regulate.
Okay. That's a good idea. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Somebody just, hey, did you drink water?
Drink some water.
Drink some water.
I will help keep you on track. There you
Okay.
go. All right. So Super Bowl squares. We'll do that. Anything else we need to consider or think about here, boys? Are we good?
Ooh, I don't know. Probably. But thank God we have another show.
Yeah. We'll get to more details on that later.
You have more details about the Super Bowl mortgages.
All right. Real quick here. Before we move on with Grant, let's update the audience here on the moving and shaking we are doing behind the scenes. Do we have a drum roll button? We are minted Odd Shopper affiliates. Woo! Woo!
Hey, Pete, can you tell the audience what that means?
That's right. We're now an official partner with the Odd Shopper Network. As far as it goes with Odd Shopper, we've been using their tools for months. This conversation with them started a week ago. So kind of fit hand in glove. Shout out to old Dan Tomlin, actually. Yes. When we had him on the show, we were walking him through how we use Odd Shopper, and he was like, I want to do it. And he was like, oh, I know people who work there. And we were like, cool.
Small world.
Let's do this. Let's have some fun. So now we're partnering with them. As far as for us, we're excited to just have some weight behind us. That's the way I keep thinking about it. A little bit of weight. I don't know why I'm just looking directly at RJ while I do this. I'm sorry.
Couple new friends.
As for the Jamblers, we're still sharing our journey along with a lot of other interesting people's journeys, which sounds familiar.
Mm-hmm.
So nothing's going to change there. Golden Pants, Beat the Books, Grant, we're bringing the heat this season. Buckle up, boys. We got a lot of content coming.
Mm-hmm.
So we're not settling here just to be sharp button clickers either. That's kind of the name I've given us for utilizing the Odd Shopper tool. We do plan to grow this in the future and grow our own strategy. We've kind of been listening to GP and Mr. Limited and their conversations and kind of figuring out where we are on our own gambling path. And this is really the organic path that, gamblers take, right?
Of course.
Yeah.
I mean, I cannot wait to do my own segment of juice reducers for baseball season. And I'm going to hold you to that segment.
Well, then I'm going to hold you to putting it in a newsletter for us then every week.
Bingo.
Oh, I like it.
Oh, that's going to be good.
So if we think about this in terms of our journey, 3 years ago, we were at, and GP and Mr. Limited covered this and talked about the different stages, right? And we were at stage 1 when we started all this, losing. Not all of us, some of us, but we were at the very foundational basics of understanding. If we were winning, we didn't actually know how we were doing it necessarily. Then we get into that stage 2 where we figured out how to not lose, primarily utilizing promos or finding other folks with whom we trust and respect, those sorts of things. And now we've kind of moved into that stage 3 where we figured out how to be a legitimately sharp bettor using a top-down approach. Now, I may be phrasing this a little loosely since I claim that title, but being able to make money off of sports books without them giving you the ability to do so is really huge.
It is. And just to kind of clarify what Peter's talking about here with the top-down market specifically,
Right.
You're basically interpreting the pricing for bets based on every sports book's position individually. And I think it was Captain Jack maybe first coined this, or maybe that's just who I heard it from first. So basically, you're just interpreting what the correct price should be because of your perception of that book's place in the market, and then finding a discount. It's kind of like value betting.
So there's a big difference between I'm going to go with this book because it has the best lines, because you don't know if that's the square or if that's the sharp.
Correct.
Then, we do hope to eventually reach that stage 4. I think that's where the natural evolution of this podcast is going to eventually head us. We had the interview with Corby about modeling, and we realized very quickly we were in over our heads there for that point in time. And a lot of it does come down to time. So we're going to get there. We're going to work on that, and we're going to figure out the bottoms up approach.
Right.
Get into that for us since you did the tops down.
Yeah. So I think Mr. Limited said it this way the other day, which was fantastic on Twitter. And it is not chasing the steam, but being the steam. So you are originating a play that is not shifted yet in the marketplace, and you get your action down, and the sports books will react to that action and change the price. and then more people will bet it, and so on and so forth, and the market moves.
We'll get there.
When do you plan on coming out with your monthly update?
Tomorrow's the 1st. So
Tomorrow's the 1st, so it'll be out tomorrow?
yeah, I'm excited to share. Good tease.
Yeah.
Even though it'll be out before this show is.
Yeah.
Well, I can't wait to hear that.
Where can we find that update at?
At Good JuJu Bets on your favorite social media platform.
So just net here. Where does this end? If you're looking for different ways to gamble, we're going to continue to provide as much of that as humanly possible.
Yep.
If you're interested in following along the way we're gambling, which we will be talking about that naturally because that's how we're doing it, reach out to us. We'll be happy to help you get set up and get rolling in that regard and walk you through what we're learning by partnering with Odd Shopper, and hopefully more people can grow in that space if they're interested along with us.
Yeah.
And if you're not, we've got guests every single week for
Keep
you
listening.
to find 100,000 other ways to gamble.
Yeah, if you're not interested in that, keep listening.
So we're
We
excited.
talk about other stuff.
Yeah, we're excited. We're super excited about this. We hope you are too. We hope you'll join us in the journey, and stay tuned because we're going to continue to have great content. Coming up next, we've got Grant Neiffer of scoresandodds.com. Gambler and DFS legend. We had a really great conversation with him, so stay tuned for that. I hope you learn a little bit more, and we'll talk again soon.
Boo, Chiefs.
Boo, Chief.
Good juju to your bets, folks. Bye.
Bye.
This week, we're welcoming in very special guest, Grant Neiffer of scoresandodds.com. Thanks for joining us, buddy.
Yeah, no problem. Happy to be on. I mean, I haven't known Ryan for too long and hadn't hung out with him too much, but it's been fun in the short time we've known each other.
That was a fun day.
You and RJ were in Vegas together. RJ, do you want to set the stage for us in terms of how you ran across him?
So our wives coincidentally ran into each other at BravoCon and, kind of sprung up a conversation about gambling. And it was like, oh, common interest of our husbands. And then we watched football the next day instead of going to BravoCon.
It's a good choice.
At least I did. I don't think you went at all, did you?
No, I did. Yeah, I didn't. Like, I'm not a huge Bravo guy.
Heard it.
Pretty much the only time I watched is after I had my kid. I'm stuck up until 4 a.m. watching it. I watched Vanderpump.
Yeah.
7 seasons of it in 1 month, while occasionally just bringing a bottle over to feed the baby.
Wow, that's all.
So I'm like, all right, I want to actually enjoy this. Didn't end up getting tickets. Didn't really care. I mean, I had pool parties, gambling to do. So I mean, me in Vegas, I don't need to go for a special event. My wife mentioned BravoCon. Like, done. Let's go. I don't care. Let's go.
So we had a fun day. Watched football. Went to lunch.
Did you guys gamble together?
I don't think we actually gambled together at all. I think maybe some slots. That was like it.
Yeah, I mean, I had money on
The football games.
pretty much every single game.
Yeah, we were there to watch football at the time.
When you go to Vegas, do you do much regular gambling, or are you strictly sports when you're out there?
I used to do a lot, and then I stopped. And now I'm a guy who loves free stuff. So I love free comps. I love free access. I love free pool parties. I love free table service. I love all that free stuff. And so if I'm mostly with Caesars for Vegas for right now. I've switched between Caesars and GM, but it's go there. Like, I'm all about optimizing the amount of points and free stuff I can get every single time. So I have it like down to a science. I know what I bet at the tables. I know which slot machines to go to just break even so I can get free stuff.
Yeah.
Works out pretty well most of the time, but I don't know why. Like, it doesn't matter how much money I make or how little money I make. It's all the same. I want free stuff, and I absolutely love it.
I'm with you. Who doesn't love free stuff?
We are so minus EV when we go gambling. What are you talking about? We wish we had that kind of discipline when we went, Grant. We absolutely.
Oh, the 10 beers in, I don't have that discipline. Showed up at this last trip. Generally, I have it under control, but then, lose a few $100s. Who cares if I had a few $100s worth of fun? Like that's
bingo. Just
added free comps is great, but like I generally, even like with how much I sports gamble, people are like, oh, you're throwing like $300, $400, $500 down on a hand of blackjack. I'm like, no, $25 will get the juices going for me. Like if I know it's a negative EV proposition for gambling, I don't want to go that hard. I just want to have fun, sit there, and even then I'm still sitting there hoping for free drinks. That's pretty much.
We're going for Bet Bash in August, and we're already having conversations with one another about, okay, this is a business trip. We have to be responsible. We have to handle it a certain way. We're hyping ourselves because we've never done Vegas that responsibly before.
Right. Who can?
I mean, yeah, it's not too hard to do. Big thing is schedule a massage the day you leave. Schedule it. Not too early, not too late. Get it. Later flat out. Get late checkout. And that's how you do it responsibly.
That's great advice.
Love it.
All right, let's dive in. So many people probably know you today from your presence on Twitter and what you're doing in the sports gambling world. You have been, I'm going to say it, a DFS legend for much longer. We've known you dating back well before sports betting was legal here in Illinois. What got you locked in on this so early?
I mean, I was working as an accountant. And I was just bored at my job. I always liked fantasy sports from like when I was 10 years old. So someone showed me one side. I'm like, all right, I'll mess around on it. And then I started making it. It was a small site. I think it was called Swooped. Almost no one played on it. But it started playing on it. And then they had this contest that had like 50% overlay for every qualifier. So then I maxed them out. And then I signed other people up to max them out and got referral bonuses. Again, trying to get that free stuff. And then I realized there was like 20 different sites offering overlay on a daily basis. I'm like, oh, if I'm just entirely average, then I'll make money because they're losing money. And it just escalated to more and more sites. So like I wasn't even, first big hit was on FanDuel for 100K, but FanDuel and DK were like my fifth and sixth sites that like in terms of volume. I just find one that just had tons of overlay, different play style, and I would just take advantage of a different play style that people weren't understanding. So it all started as an accountant, randomly hit like 150K one day. I'm like, I don't like my job. Why am I here? I can always come back. Everyone needs an accountant. Like I could go get a job next week if I wanted to. Don't ever plan on that again. Right. It's like when you have a college degrees, this isn't advice, but I'm not really for them. But in my specific circumstance, it was just a fallback plan. Like that's all it was. Is like my college degree was a fallback plan for probably the first 4 or 5 years. Like, if I get into trouble, then I can just go back. It doesn't matter. And then, just escalated into, I'm never going back.
That's awesome.
So what year did you quit your job? Or not quit your job, move into this career instead?
I think it was, I want to say January 2015 is probably it. So it's coming up on about 9 years now.
Wow.
I've been doing it full time.
Grant, when you were deep into the DFS space, did you start off at a very low limit doing max entries, or did you immediately go to the nosebleeds?
Oh, this was long before optimizers. So I had a very interesting strategy. It was all about pounding overlay. For those out there that don't know what overlay is, like real simple, like 4-person double up for $500, like top 2 people for $525. Top 2 people get $1,000 back. This was one of my favorite contests to do. A site called Fantasy Feud had it. 4 people max enter, but it's guaranteed to run no matter what. So if 3 people end up entering it, $525 entry per person. Top 2 people out of the 3 get $1,000 back. So I would literally build one lineup for like 6 different sites I knew would have overlay. And then 5 minutes before game time, I would mass enter into every 50-50 that had overlay, and just however much that'd be, whether it was $1,000 that day or $10,000 that day, just like, well, let's hope it goes the right way. And if I lose a bunch of money, I'm already in so much student loan debt that it doesn't even matter. It's a drop in the bucket. That was the funniest part about my first big hit for $150,000. My friends are coming up to me and we're all just straight out of college, like, oh man, how's it feel to be rich? I'm like, I'm not even back to zero. I'm still in the red. Like I have more student loan debt than this. Like I'm essentially insolvent at the moment.
That's hilarious.
After this, and I've still got taxes to pay.
I can't believe there was overlay on such a small contest. That's awesome. That's a good edge for sure.
Yeah. My favorite one was the 6-person one, $215 one, and I would be able to enter it twice before regulation hit, and then 5 seconds before close, I would withdraw 1 entry. So there would be 4 of us.
Oh my God.
And I had a 75% chance of cashing.
Oh, that's
That was
fantastic.
way back in the day.
That's fantastic. Do you still play DFS?
I do with football. I occasionally do with baseball, like basketball, rarely. Like, and it's tough. It's tough with DFS with like the injury news. Like
Right.
basketball, you're working from 8 a.m. till 8 p.m. Like when the last game starts. There's no way around it. Like news hits. I've had times before. Like I was still doing it up until about a year ago. Now with the kid, it's just no go. But like, there's been times where I've been making dinner for my wife, and then all of a sudden she'll see me scream a profanity, run downstairs, and it turns out there's a leak in the New Orleans roof, and I have to mass swap out of 150 different lineups. So, I mean, I still mess around with baseball. That's not really a problem. Like, you just have to check when lineups come out.
Right.
Football is still a thing because, I mean, I'm looking at numbers all week long, like constantly.
Yeah.
I know every football number, so I'll still mess around. Not nearly the same volume I used to, but 5-10 grand on a football Sunday spread between 150 to 300 lineups on a few sites. And I mean, I generally make money out of every year. And realistically, the added DFS research needed is only like 4 hours a week. The rest of it's all sports betting research anyways. So yeah, still mess around with a little bit, but sports betting, I can be done at noon any day if I want to. I can be done at 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I can bet all the way through the night, or I can just be done after a few hours.
When did you start drifting then from the DFS space into the sports betting space? So
it was kind of like it got legalized in Colorado in 2020 when there was nothing going on. So my first bet was on the match between Woods and Mickelson. And then it progressed like a little bit here, a little bit there. Oh, let's take advantage of all these boosts. Like they're just throwing money. Oh, deposit bonuses. And then it was really baseball season 2021. Because I mean, I know pitchers. I know pitchers way too well. Like that's most of my DFS research was on pitchers. So like strikeout props, I started doing them like, all right, let's give this a try. Normal $100 units, get like 5 in a row. Like, all right, I'll up this. And I think that first year, like probably hit about 65%, 70%, which is massive.
Bonkers.
Like 53% is break even on minus 115 juice. And so then I'm like, all right, let's see if I'm good at basketball too. I mean, I look at individual players all the time, focusing on props, and then just start off crushing it. And then the DK Sports Betting National Championship popped up November of 2021. I'm like, well, I watched this last year. 10 grand, that's fine. I'll enter it. And just went balls to the wall. And I figured out the best possible strategy, in my opinion, and could use player props. And I was crushing them. So ended up getting third in that for $250,000. And I'm like, all right, DFS takes too much time. Sports betting, it's more fun and less stressful for some reason. So I just pretty much switched almost entirely over at that point.
So it was a handicapping contest and you could include props?
Yeah. So what you do is everyone buys in for 10 grand and you get 5 grand in cash. And then whatever you have at the end of it, you get back. So just turn 5 grand into 8 grand, you get 8 grand back. And then there's based on your rankings. So like first was $1 million, second was 250K, third was 125K. So I turned 5 grand into 125 grand or 120, something like that.
Wow.
And then got 125K on top of that for getting third.
Wow. That's fantastic. That's a haul.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I ran super hot. I was going for either first or third. So I did 2 separate 3-leg parlays for like 5 grand or 10 grand each. How much I had, maybe 5 grand. I happened to hit both.
Yeah.
So
wow. And this is a live event.
6-0 on picks the last day, which
that's awesome.
Ended up getting me into third, which if I would have only hit 1, I still actually would have gotten third because the drop off to fourth was big, if I remember correctly.
And this is like a live event. Like you guys are together betting on stuff, or
you could go to the live event. I did it by a proxy.
Got it.
Actually, it might not even been live that year because of COVID.
Sure.
Rules, but yeah. So I was just sweating it in a barcade at 5 o'clock because everyone else was doing football. It was a football Sunday, and I did all basketball bets.
Wow.
Because it locks like right at the first football game. No one can place any more bets the rest of the day. So I did all basketball games, and a lot of them started late. So I'm in a barcade at like 5 o'clock, sweating Harrison Barnes not getting a steal.
Love it.
60 grand.
That's my kind of sweat.
Yeah, that was an intense one because it was like everything else had hit, and then I think it was either Harrison Barnes or Kuzma under 0.5 steals, and so it's like at any second this could lose. Like random stat correction could make this win or lose, and so it was fun. One more stressful sweats I've ever had, though.
I believe it.
One of the best sweats.
One of the best
Better
sweats, yeah.
sweat than I've ever gotten to enjoy.
I'm down for a Harrison Barnes no steal 60K sweat for sure. Anytime
I get that chance. All right. So what markets and sports are you most into now today?
I mean, it's just all player props. So basketball, points, rebounds, assists, points, rebounds, assists, points, rebounds, those ones. Baseball, home runs, and pitcher props. So strikeouts, outs, mostly for those.
Yeah.
And then football, it's touchdowns, passing yards, receiving yards, reception, pretty much football, it's once a week. So you have all week to prepare for it. So you can find stuff throughout the week. So any player prop, pretty much interceptions, passing attempts, completions, those are the main ones. And then live betting, I do a decent amount of, but it's exhausting. Like I could make a lot more money doing that, but it's just tough. That's actually where it really got to start is live betting games during the bubble in 2020. Because I'm like, I haven't worked for 6 months. This is great. And so I was live betting every single game and just looking for line discrepancies from site to site because I have like 8 of them open on 3 different screens. Be like, well, there's an ARB situation. Hit. Well, that's off about 20 points. Hit that. And just by the end of the game, I'd have boatloads of money down on every single game on both sides with no chance of losing.
That's awesome.
That's what we've been seeing a lot of conversation around that space lately.
The live ARBs. Yeah.
You've been just starting to get into it a little bit as well. I can't do it.
Grant, the three of us have kind of figured out that the books they're all over the place with these player props. What do you see in the future as far as the books kind of getting a handle on some of these lines that they're throwing out there? And it's not just one specific book. It's all of them that you can exploit. You know, depending on the prop, they're off by one way or another. So do you see any clamp down on that in the future?
No, I mean, it's mostly going to come down to the limit people on most sites, and then certain ones where, like you see on FanDuel, that they have a lower juice than pretty much everyone else. Like hour before game time, they already have enough money down on the props that they'll throw out minus 110 per player prop, which you won't see on almost any other site any other time. Then you'll have stuff like Caesars where it's going to be minus 117. And I don't know if you have Sports Illustrated out there, but they'll have like minus 133 on the over and minus 120 on the under. So 55 points of juice, just absolutely ridiculous. So different sites will offer different amounts of juice. And then you're always going to see stuff with like escalators and alt lines and stuff like that, where they know they're getting plenty of juice. They just don't even care. It's enough volume. They just want more people on the site. And like, if you're betting mostly player props, they'll get to the limit you pretty quickly. So I don't think it's really going to change too much. And like a lot of them are just trying to make money. A lot of them are just trying to get the hold on there, trying to get even action on both sides. So Caesars will move it in direction. Like you'll see on Caesars sometimes minus 150 juice on the over on a player prop. They don't want to move it to the next point. They just want to get people betting the under, and they don't even care if there's an ARB situation. They'll just take their very small win or break even or slight loss on certain props, knowing that at 17 points of juice on both sides, they're going to long run make some decent money, especially with same game parlays where they're taking a much, much higher juice. And that's where they're trying to push everything to. Like they're trying to push all the player props to same game parlays because honestly, casual better, that's what they want. One of my best friends, he's betting 10 leg same game parlays. I'm like, all right, at least pay attention to the juice because there's sometimes you're going to add an extra leg and the odds are going to get worse for you.
Yeah.
Right.
Or sometimes it's impossible to hit. Like you can't have an alt under and then a second half over for pretty much the same amount. Like it's impossible to hit. Like you can push and then certain sites push is loss. So that's kind of what they're going towards, which I mean, casual sports bettors want it. They don't care if it's their entertainment. $20 same game parlay, each set of games on a Sunday. They're more than happy to essentially be giving away $30-$40 long term every single Sunday, and they're enjoying it.
So then Are there any specific principles in that realm for those of us who are kind of still building up our knowledge to the point you're at in terms of attacking or benefiting most from these sorts of situations?
I mean, yeah, it's just you got to keep finding the new edge. Like I've changed constantly over. I mean, I've been doing this for just over 3 years, and you constantly have to be evolving and changing. And it's the same thing with DFS. Like as soon as one edge becomes exploited by people like stacking in DFS with quarterbacks or game stacking in basketball or stacking baseball, like sometimes those become oversaturated. And then you're like, all right, well, now not going a full 5-man stack in baseball and going with a 3-4 is better. And then that changes. And it's just constantly learning where the new edge is. Like that's kind of what it is. I mean, over at Action where I do some work, shout out to Nick Giffen. He's finding luck. He has the luck rankings over there and just basically factoring in overall season numbers with how lucky the team actually got. Because football's massively lucky. Like one interception literally changes the McCole Hardman fumbling out of the end zone. That could have been a guaranteed Chiefs win to a loss almost immediately. And then missed field goal, literally just smallest little thing, missed field goal, few feet right, or I guess that was actually wide right, changes the game entirely. Like sports are not exact analytics. There's a significant amount of luck involved, and learning where people overvalue luck or undervalue luck on things is kind of where you can figure stuff out. I mean, every single year I tend to find a rookie that people are, the books are undervaluing drastically and just hammering it. Last year or 2 years ago, it was Cade and Desmond Bain. He was not a rookie anymore, but like just getting on the Bain train early was just massively profitable. Just every single game, the alt overs and the overs and the PRA alt overs, just everything. And you tack an edge, make some money, and then move on and find the new edge.
Yeah, I think your Action show live for halftime on the primetime games. I watch that every primetime game, right? So your Thursday. I mean, there were some that I think I missed, but I think you guys do a great job at exploiting those halftime lines. I really enjoy the show.
I mean, even example, like obviously Nick has his algorithm set up and it's fantastic, but like there's a million different bets out there. I'm just searching these, and like one of the easiest or most profitable thing we'd had was touchdown bets during that show. And it was literally me just having every single book open on touchdowns and looking at the lines, and you'd find plus 150, plus 150, plus 200, and then a random plus 500 on there over on FanDuel. It's like, Nick, what's the percentage on this? Okay, let's hit this immediately. Like,
yeah,
you find outlier lines because books can't fully adjust. Like the biggest example was FanDuel. Was it the Chargers and Raiders, where the Raiders put up like 50 on Thursday Night Football? Yeah, I think that was the game where O'Connell had like 5 touchdowns. Yeah. But at halftime, I think it was Devontae Adams was 18-1 to score in the second half. And FanDuel's algorithm, it was 18-1 there. It was like 5-1 everywhere else. It's because the algorithm assumed that starters would get benched. They didn't realize the human element of it. Like, what reason do the Raiders have to bench anyone? They're basically out of the playoffs. They have nothing to play for. They have a young guy who has the potential to set the NFL touchdown record for a game. They have every incentive to actually play, where FanDuel assumes there's a disincentive. And so it's like, all right, they're not pulling starters. We have 2 rookie quarterbacks who need a confidence boost. Yeah. They're staying in the game. And yeah, luckily Adams ended up hitting, and I think we got Stick to get a rushing touchdown at like 37-1, which was ridiculous. Wow. Game close. I think he got stopped on the 2-yard line or almost ran in on the 2-yard line, something like that. But yeah, just little books can't account for everything. And it's even worse on live betting. So I can pinpoint a bad line live betting fairly quickly just off my dome without an algorithm. And it's nice having Nick there to like tell me like, all right, am I just off on this? But like, it's just, sometimes when you've been doing this long enough and you look at numbers long enough and you're paying attention to the same thing over and over again, you kind of know what it is. Like you can spot the bad line. And so it's just getting more and more knowledge of that, getting more and more experience with that, being careful with your bankroll. So even if you see one that's like, all right, that's way off, if you don't actually know it that well, then like, oh, I have that as a 15% edge. Well, if you put a bunch of money on it and you lose it, then you've got a ways to go to get back to there with your bankroll. So, I mean, don't go over your head with things and just keep learning more and more and keep digging into the numbers and keep looking for edges.
Speaking of the social media content that you guys are putting out there in general, I commented before the show, Bet What Happens Live, I think is the best produced maybe show in the sports gambling space right now. Would you mind sharing just a little bit for our content creators out there and such? Who's pulling that off and how are you guys pulling that off so cleanly?
I mean, well, we have great producers over at Action Network, and like, yeah, they create everything around it. And then on the analytics side, Nick Giffen, absolute genius when it comes to math. Like, I'm smart. I'm really smart. I rarely ever say someone's better at numbers than me. He is absolutely a better mathematical mind than I am, and great at putting together algorithms. And you have all sorts of guys working on the Action team that are putting numbers into this big algorithm. So he has that. And then mine is just, I'm mostly there because off the dome, like I can find discrepancies really quickly and I can, in my brain, analyze just boatloads of information really quickly, not to stroke my own ego. So like it kind of worked out perfectly. Like I wasn't on that show last year and then started doing some work with Action Network and they're like, what do you like to do? I'm like, player props, live betting. They're like, oh, we have this show. We'll throw you on as co-host. And just me and Nick clicked immediately. And then the producers just did a great job with everything, setting everything up. So yeah. So for new content creators, make sure everything looks good and find a fun idea. And if it's in the sports betting arena, win at it. Like pick something that you're actually good at.
There's an entire production team behind the shows that you guys are putting out there.
Oh yeah.
That's fantastic. How do we get one of those?
We don't.
Write a check.
I am the production team.
You do eventually. I mean, every place starts off. You got to start off somewhere.
Right.
Look at the Action Network content. Look at the Scores and Odds content. Look at the Roto Grinders content.
Yeah,
like all the companies I work for. You look back 7-8 years ago, and it's just two guys on Zoom talking to each other, and then it progresses. You get more money, you get more audience, it becomes more feasible to get a producer. And then, I mean, it's just how all companies work.
Right.
Literally anything. You expand and product quality goes up.
Real quickly, one issue we've been running across as we've become more embedded in the gambling space has been our ability to actually carry on conversations with casuals where we'll start having a conversation with them and they'll bring up the topic or they'll act interested and then we'll start talking back to them about it. And then suddenly we'll notice they're looking at us like psychopaths who have a serious problem. Any advice from your years of experience in interacting with casuals and keeping the conversation light and on pace with them?
I mean, I'm generally just laid back and then, but yeah, I'll like start spitting out like all sorts of stats. And then, I mean, it's easy for me. It's like, what? And I'm like, sorry, I do this for a living. I'm like, okay. And then the easiest thing for me, like there's a few follow-up questions like, all right, what's the most you've ever won? $250,000 in one day. I'm like, okay. All right. Okay. How long have you been doing this for? Because they're thinking like, oh, he just won that. Now he's going to give it all back. Like almost a decade now. Okay. Well, all right. That's a little bit more reliable. Like, so that was the easiest thing for me but even in the beginning, like they're asking what happens if you go broke? I'm like, this was a decade ago. I'm like, I'm mid-20s. Who cares if I go broke? Like, not suggesting that was kind of my mindset. Like,
right.
Look, it's the exact same as if I started my own company, like start my own restaurant. 50% chance that it goes bankrupt in the first 3 years are the stats. I could be making those up, but it's like, just because it's betting, they're like, oh, what if you go broke? If it's something else, it's like, oh, you're starting a company. Good for you going on your own.
Yeah, good luck, pal.
Like, the book always wins. Like, no, there are edges to be had. There's a reason you don't hear about them because generally the people who take advantage of them don't really want to give up their edge. And I mean, I try and be as forward and honest about my content as possible. There are, specifically in DFS, there was times, because I mean, in sports betting, like I'll get my bet down, I'll have all the money I can possibly get down on it, and then I'll give out the pick. So it's literally absolutely no disservice to me to give out that pick because I've already got my money down. DFS, it was a little bit different. I had a few 50K swings because someone listening on Roto Grinders took my White Sox stack, and
Wow.
Yep, sure enough, they're right above me, and that cost me a lot of money.
Oh my gosh. Wow.
So there were certain times where I was doing shows or doing content, and I'd be like, I'm not even playing on DraftKings or FanDuel because I can deal with like a 3K one on a smaller site like Owner's Box or something like that, Underdog. When it's the bigger ones, it's like, yeah, I can't do this. And I remember specifically draft shows. I don't know if you guys remember the site Draft.
Oh yeah.
Basically Underdog is now, but that one, like, positional scarcity was the thing that people didn't understand. So when Cat and Embiid and Jokic are all on the slate, and this was years ago, and they're all going to be projected for around 50 to 55 points. Like, difference between the number 1 and number 3 is 5 points. Whereas the difference between the number 1 or the number 4 forward, let's say Draymond Green for 38, and the number 5 forward, which was old man Kevin Love, who's putting up 25, it's a 15-point swing. So I'd be drafting Draymond Green over Jokic or Cat or Embiid, or I would just literally take the center at the end because you only get one center. So another edge. But I would literally, like, I would only do that show if I was doing that show, I would just be done drafting the rest of the day. I'm like, someone's going to come in here and use my rankings and cut my ROI in half, because that was back in the day, that was a big money maker. But
yeah.
On the other side of that aisle, we were always looking at that with the people who were giving out advice and stuff for the DFS. Like, these guys are holding all their
who's he really
stuff
playing?
back. They're not giving us what they're really playing.
Almost all of us do, because I mean, it's pretty clear when you do that, because everyone can see your lineups. Like, you can download CBS of your lineups. So I never lied about it. I never withheld information if I was doing content, but there was literally days where I wouldn't play when I was doing content on DraftKings or FanDuel. So I'm like, I gave out DraftKings and FanDuel specific content of what I would do. I'm going to go play on these other sites because I can't have someone taking all my money from me. Like, this is not worth what the company's paying me to do that. So like, I would give out the best knowledge possible. And I always play DFS. Enough people are playing on DraftKings and FanDuel that could potentially steal my really sneaky stack for baseball, where it's like, all right, you can have it. I'll play these smaller sites, so I'll still have money out and play, and probably higher EV because the smaller sites generally had overlay. But yeah, I don't know many guys in this in the DFS industry, definitely not any over at Roto Grinders, that purposely withhold information or lie. I never known any guy to say like, oh, I love this player just to throw people off. Like, not a single one I've worked with, even the ones that aren't even at at Roto Grinders anymore.
Sure.
None of them I heard be dishonest about their picks.
And I'll say this, since we've gotten more involved in the space and gotten a better understanding, I think one of the things we've seen is how much communication actually takes place behind the scenes by people in the network. And so I would assume, now that I have more information, that those sorts of conversations and checks and sorts of things were happening in that space as well.
Plus, we were just salty. We were losing all the time.
Yeah, I mean, let's be real. We were not winning. We're winning sports bettors. We were not winning DFS players.
No, that was fun.
I mean, if you're playing GPPs, you can be a winning DFS player. And like, I've had entire seasons where it's like, well, I just worked 60 hours a week for 5 months of football. Football I never lost on. Basketball, I've had 1 or 2 losing seasons in 8 years, way up. But like, that's always the worst, when you've worked for 6 months straight playing almost every single day, and you're like, well, there was one stat correction that changed this from a 10K loss season, or they would have changed it from a 10K loss season to a 90K positive season.
Right.
And that's literally it. It can be that thin where you can be a winning player and you can go an entire season losing money playing GBPs. Cash games are a little bit different. Like, even with bad luck, you're still, I mean, it's like being a blackjack table. You have a large enough sample size, the casino's always going to win. Like cash games, you're going for like a 4. I mean, back in the day, it was like an 8% ROI, 10% ROI. Now, most of them are going for like 3 to 5% ROI. And then at that point, it's all based off volume, which when sports betting kind of the same way, people assume we're ripping off 20, 30% ROIs. No, if I've got a 10 to 12% ROI on the year, that's a great year.
Right.
Like if I'm at 5% for the year, I'm like, that's fine. No problem with that at all.
Yeah.
Like I'm hoping for 10. I'm happy with 5.
All right. So Jolly here is a diehard 49ers fan. So we are extremely excited. We're hyping up everything related to the Super Bowl over the next couple of weeks. Early thoughts, how are you feeling? Do you think it's going to be a good game? Where do you think we're heading?
I think it's going to be a good game. I have a lean towards the 49ers. I haven't dug in too deep. Like we're still a week and a half out. I just got back from Vegas. I have a 9-month-old daughter and a wife who's not happy that I left her with her for a weekend while I went to Vegas. So I'm diving in deep tonight and tomorrow and next week. My favorite bet is heads, by the way.
Let me jot that down.
Thank you. I have seen, I've seen so much of this tails never fails nonsense on the internet.
Yeah.
And I've always been a heads guy.
Yeah.
And it just seems like there's not a 50% stake in heads. So we've got a little bit of EV there.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's a great way to get some player points or get some DK crowns. I'm actually heading down to Phoenix for the Super Bowl. So I don't think I can bet heads or tails here in Colorado, but I can in Phoenix. So that's great.
Awesome.
But yeah, I mean, it's going to be a good game. Like it's one of those weird spots where like the 49ers are 100% unequivocally the better team. Defensively, Casey, small edge. 49ers on paper, everywhere else. Like, and it's not remotely close, but it goes to show you like how overvalued the quarterback is in the league. Because you have Mahomes, who right now his last 5 years is the best run in NFL history by a quarterback. Not even remotely close to anyone else. Like Peyton Manning is probably second. Tom Brady's up there. Drew Brees, Montana, like Dan Marino had first 4 years in the league. But what Mahomes is doing is just absolutely incredible.
Yeah.
For a 5-year stretch. And this is literally just the first 6 years of his career. Well, 7, but he didn't play his first season. And it's because of that, like literally every single year in the playoffs, like he will go and he will take over every single time and he will do just enough to keep them close the entire game and then try playing prevent defense versus Mahomes or trying to stop him when he has 4 downs every single time the chains move. It's entirely different. And so I think the line's about where it should be at 2. But I'd probably very slightly take the 49ers, but it's going to be a great game and I'm looking forward to it. But I mean, they just probably based on just volume, I'm sure that all the Swifties are putting money on KC. I know that my wife wants me to. So that's why there's probably some edge on the 49ers, but
love it.
I'll probably end up live betting this game. Last year I had food poisoning day before the Super Bowl. So I went to a party, had 1 White Claw. I'm like, nope, that's not going to happen. So I just sat and live bet the game the entire time because I'm like, I've got to entertain myself somehow. And I ended up making a large amount of money on that game.
Good.
About the most I've ever made on a game just because of food poisoning. So
good deal.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, do you have any Super Bowl go-to foods?
Wings, nachos, beer. One of my favorite Super Bowl party I used to go to every year when I lived in California. Guy would always bring McDonald's cheeseburgers and then cut them into fourths, and that would be the appetizers. And surprisingly, it slaps. It's absolutely fantastic.
Oh my God.
I mean, my favorite one is always a good dip, like a buffalo chicken dip.
Yeah.
Like, because you're there watching the game for 5 hours, like just constantly like, I don't want a full wing. I don't want to just chip into the dip. Like, all right, I'm good for a second. Yeah.
I've got a cheesy bacon dip I make for every Super Bowl. If you want the recipe, I'll send it along. No big deal.
Recipe
No pressure. No pressure.
And you got 10 pounds of wings.
I mean, I know. If I cook something, I'm cooking meat. Like that's the entirety of my cooking ability. Is smoking meat, grilling, all that stuff. That's what I focus on. And also mostly what I eat, that or microwaving nachos or a quesadilla.
All right. Well, we are, in fact, firing up the smoker for
Smoking the
chicken wings
wings.
this Super Bowl. We had already decided that. So if you happen to find yourself in Peoria, Illinois next Sunday, you just let us know. We've got your meal for you figured out.
Don't be surprised if I bring some McDonald's cheeseburgers and cut them into fours and put them on little toothpicks.
We're always learning, aren't we?
Yeah, we're always learning.
All
I
right.
mean, where you guys are at, I'm guessing you have White Castle. It's pretty much the same thing.
We don't have White Castle.
No, but
Yeah.
Indianapolis has White Castle, and we go to Pacers Celtics games there every year.
Get a 50 bag.
All right, Grant. Thank you so much for joining us. For folks who want to follow you along with your plays, we mentioned you're on scoresandodds.com. Anywhere else you want to shout out?
Yeah, Action Network. Download the great Action Network app where you can track your bets. I occasionally throw stuff in there. And then Twitter, GNeiffer07 or Grant Neiffer. I went by Turd Ferguson for a long time, but it was almost impossible to find me on Twitter. So I finally made the switch over to a more professional name.
Well, we missed the Turd Ferguson.
Oh, yeah. I'll still go by Turd Ferguson every single time.
Good to know.
Good to know. We forgot to ask that. Shoot.
Now we got the answer.
Now we got the answer. Yeah.
All right.
Oh, yeah. Do you know how that came about? I mean, obviously it was from the SNL
Right.
skit way back in the day. But literally, I was just at a bachelor party, and a whole bunch of guys who didn't know me, I just changed my name and group me or WhatsApp, whatever it was then, to Turd Ferguson. And then all my friends, then I just had a picture of a beer on there. So I'm just chiming in, and all my buddies who were there like, who the hell is this Turd Ferguson guy? I'm like, wait, you guys didn't figure out that was me this entire time? We've been messaging for a week. How did you not know this? And so then,
And
just kept
stuck.
going by that.
Yeah.
All week, and they at the casino they were just yelling Turd Ferguson at the craps table, and it kept working. So
Yeah. Well, yeah. It's only weird if it doesn't work.
And we just learned a crap strategy.
Right. Turd Ferguson.
All right, Grant. Thank you so much for joining us this week. We hope you have a good luck with the Super Bowl. Best of luck to your bets, and we'll hope to talk with you again soon.
good to be on. See you guys.
See you. Thank
bud.
you.
See you, Grant. Thanks.
Appreciate it.